All right. Welcome to April already. I'm sorry it's on April 2nd, otherwise we could pull off a really good April Fool's joke, but we'll have to wait till next year when it's on Monday. Raise your hand if you watch Flanders live, not on recorded, live. Props to the crew. Raise your hand if you watch Flanders on recorded. Raise your hand if you drank a delirium while you watch Flanders on recorded. Yeah. All right. Guys, welcome to the Wednesday meeting, guys and gals, sorry. As you know, we had a bunch of races going on in March, so we'll get to that. And a bunch of success, too. I was really happy with March's month. So this is an expanded version of what I sent last night, what we're going to talk about today. And, of course, camp picture with all of our T-shirts. I thought that was worthwhile. Basically, on the training update, it's from my side, everyone's in sort of build 2 or moving towards peaking. Of the first part of the peak of the year, right? We try to get a couple of times a year. We get you guys nice and fast. That's coming up April into May, and from there we'll kind of, yes?
I have an itch.
Okay. From there we'll do a little reset mid-May into June, and then be racing again. We can race the whole time, but from a training perspective, anaerobic work, which we don't do a ton of work, and it's got a small window of sort of payback. It's 4 to 6 weeks of a lot of high intensity anaerobic work. Sets the table for performance, but you can easily go too far. So when we talk a little bit about prescribing intervals later for race specific stuff, think about the anaerobic component, because I'll talk a little bit about that as well. As usual, it's all built around focus race. My primary interest with you guys is to see if amongst this group or the fans online, if there's feedback. I do monthly write-ups. Do you guys read them? Are they worthwhile? I'm happy to keep doing them if they're getting read. If they're sitting in the file section and no one looks at them, that's a couple hours a month I can save on stuff. So yes, Ken likes them. Yes, okay, that's 2. Hernan. Do you read them? Do you understand them, Hernan? Everyone needs someone to kick. Hernan, today you're the guy. Also, if you guys can think of improvements or things you might want to see differently in that, please let me know. It's a good time because we've been doing it for a few months and a few years. And lastly, I had started building some pre-built programs. If you feel like you want something a little more specific, let me know. We can work one up. We usually work those in 4 to 6 week blocks. We have an FTP, a crit, and a TT that we can automatically load for you guys. But if you want something more specific, like, I don't know, a stage race, blah, blah, in September, let me know, and we'll see what we can do to help you guys out. Okay, team wins and podiums. So first number is last month, plus is what we added this month. Okay, so we added 8 wins in the month of March. To me, that's a pretty good month. We added 53 top 10s, guys. What that means is we got a lot of riders on the cusp of getting those results, those podiums and those wins and getting those category upgrades. I was really happy with the Elite 3s. Specifically, Brian did a great job and was well supported by Yuri and Chris. Well, you were there in emotional support. At Chico, and I thought Chico was great. I'd like to just give a shout out to everyone that came and raced. Colleen looked like a pro in the crit. She was even at the front of the crit some, which I thought was awesome. Good inspiration. Everybody raced really well, and I thought the cohesion was good, and it was a little less sort of frazzled maybe than previous year. Not that it was too frazzled previous years, but you guys were really on task early in the weekend, so it worked great. So I don't have the 5s up here. We don't have a really big 5s contingent. If you guys are at races, especially 4s racing 4-5, and you see guys racing that are unattached or whatever, let them know. We're always looking, because we're moving everybody up, so we got to find more to fill in the lower categories, which is a good problem to have, but at the same time, we don't have that many 5s. The women also added, thanks mostly to Yvonne, I think 4 wins for the month, so she did half her wins, having won 2 TTs, Copperopolis, and something else, which is impressive. And I didn't put it on here too much, but in the women's series, Yvonne's sitting 3rd, and both Cicely and Colleen are in the top 10 for their group. Yeah. Moving on down, 35, 1, 2, 3. No wins, but we added some results. I don't think there was anything here last, so it should have a plus in front of it, because I don't think we had too many results in February. 45, 1, 2, 3, linear. And he kind of gets credit in the count for a win in the 45 GC at Chico, even though it was sort of like a, hey, here's a jersey, congratulations, as opposed to an actual like stealing of the win. 55-1-2-3, you guys been killing it. Eric Salander, third at Chico on a really smart ride. Oh, a couple more pedal strokes and he would have had the jersey for a stage. I was trying, buddy, but they wouldn't change the rule. And that is Levin's riding solo across the line at Chico. I needed a placeholder. Okay, the thing that I'm most happy with and the thing that I most wanted to communicate to you guys and to everyone else developmentally is that we jumped six places in standings in BAT. Okay, I was a little worried in BAT that we were going to sort of like be mediocre this year. And honestly, I was a little short-sighted. I should have taken a longer view and been like, hey, you know, it's February, now it's March. We jumped up to fourth. We were 325 points behind, now we're 250 points behind, so we added 75 points, largely due to participation. We had more racers racing this month than last month. So I was really happy with that. And also, the E4 stayed the same, but the E3s moved into second on points. The 55s moved up to fifth from, I think, sixth. And the women 4 are in sixth. I think they were a little lower than that last month. So anyway, standings update. We're doing great. Couldn't be happier. Okay, focus races. We have 2 focus races in April, both on the same weekend as luck would have it. So it's like a mini stage race for us. First one is Cat's Hill. Raise your hand if you've done Cat's Hill before. Okay, so I'm preaching to the choir. Great race, really fun course. Not as difficult as everybody says to do, but difficult to do well at because that hill every time. We'll talk more specifically about Cat's Hill and Wente developmentally in a little bit, but I wanted you guys to know categories, and also we took the extra step of scheduling out a pre-race meeting 45 minutes before your start, so you have time to do the meeting and still warm up-ish and still get to the start in time. Although I would probably not necessarily wait until after the meeting to do my warm-up. Big things are that we have a lot of morning stuff. It's great because they don't start the first race till 8:45, so it's pretty leisurely morning for racers. And I think that's about it. Oh, the Discord will be Thursday night at 7 o'clock, at which point, and again, we'll talk about this more in depth when we get to the thing, but with the new format for running strategy, we'll assign roles at the Discord meetings. So you'll know Thursday night what your job is for the race. Okay, yes, sir?
Say Thursday, just an audio.
Thursday, April 26th at 7 p.m. with the Wente Road Race Discord happening at 7:45, which means we have to get all of our things done in 40 minutes or less, or 44 minutes or less. Questions so far about Cat's Hill? You're right, let's talk about the course. Good idea. Okay, so 9/10 of a mile, L-shaped course. Obviously, the hill is the most important part. I'll give you some numbers in a little bit when we talk about pre-race strategy, but as I've said for the third year now, I think, it's really about not doing too much on the front straight, carrying position and speed onto the climb. Figure you've got one shift, and really it's the point after the climb, after you cross here, it kind of rises, drops a little bit, and then goes up a little bit. This actually is, I put at the bottom, the right-hand turn here, this climbs a whopping 5 or 10 feet of elevation gain. So it's like the hardest 5 feet elevation gain you've ever earned because you're already knackered, turn right, hit the gas. But the advantages of making time there and on the downhill are that everyone else is wanting to rest. So if you come into it with some decent fitness and a good attitude and a willingness to suffer and die, then you can position well in that race and not have it be a problem. Because I'll tell you what, every time coming onto that climb in the top 5, it's easy. The climb's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy if you're in that first 5, 4, 6 riders. If you're 10, 15 riders back, you have to deal with traffic and stuff, and it gets to be a pain in the butt. But that first 5, 6, 8, 10 guys, depends on how big your field is and how fast they're moving, that's a great place to be. So working on that. We'll also do a pre-ride of Cat's Hill the Tuesday before, as opposed to Thursday last time, so we don't extend ourselves. Do as much as possible on the descent and up through the park, up through here, and do as little as possible you can on the front, right? You hopefully can corner, getting better at cornering in groups so you can stay on that wheel and you don't have to work too hard because closing gaps is a big pain on this course. and sucks out that energy that you need later. Okay? Other questions and or comments about Cat's Heel? We'll have a spot inside, same as the last 2 years. Yes, sir?
I didn't do it last year because I was sick, but is the surface the same or different?
Last time I was on it, the surface was largely the same. They paved one, they paved this section, I think. They're in the process of paving it. It used to have a seam. I haven't been there in a few months, but we'll know on that Tuesday. Yeah, and I think this corner is better. It's a lot better than it used to be. So, yeah, the pavement's pretty good. We'll take some video at the pre-ride and make sure we get it out to you guys so you know what's coming. Same thing with Wente. I'm really happy, actually. This year, I think they expanded the number of categories that are racing the old full course, the long course. I like that course a lot better, so I think that suits us. And it's sort of 2 groups, 3 groups during the day. Morning group is long course. Afternoon group, late morning, afternoon group is short course. However, big thing for the short course and long course winners. If you did the long course back in the day, it finished on top of the feed hill. Now the finish is on the hill off of Greenfield or Green something? Green Valley Road, whatever it is. That right turn kilometer, same as it was last year, but it also includes the finish for the long course. I really like long course. It's one of my favorite courses. It's got a couple things that we'll talk about as far as what, where, when. But same rule of thumb, 45 minutes ahead of time, your pre-race meeting. Those should be short. There should be a quick rehash of what's going on, who's where, who's what, any equipment issues that come up. That should all be covered strategically, tactically. It should be covered at the Discord. Okay, so that meeting should be pretty short and can actually be done on trainers if you bring trainers. Doesn't matter to me. Okay? Questions? Okay, we're rolling through. The course itself, as I said, one of my favorite courses. The feed zone climb is from here to here. It's about, I don't know what I say it was, a mile. 0.8 of a mile, climbs 300 feet, so the average is pretty good. It's not as hard as it seems that first lap. Second, third, fourth lap, it adds up, right? So again, we talk about race preparation. You have to look at if you're doing 3 laps and it's whatever, 35 miles or 40 miles, what do you think you're going to do in kilojoules and what are you going to need on that last time up the climb? Similarly, at the finish, you know, it's not a very long climb. It's not very steep, but it's just long enough that if you hit it out at 300 meters, you're going to pretty much die at 200. So it's a patience kind of sprint, which is hard to do out of that last corner. Everyone thinks finish line, so we want to work on that patience. We'll also have on the calendar a couple of sprint workouts, and Bill Brisman sent me an email about structuring that a little bit too, so we'll see what we can do to incorporate that so that we're good crit riders. Really fun course. Technical downhill, this is the only corner that's really dangerous, although there's a little chicane here that's a little bit nerve-wracking. In my estimation, crux points are from here, where you come top of feed hill, cross over 580, and it's almost always a tailwind, and it's almost always gas on. So it's really easy to get popped there.
There's one wide turn coming down that like increasing radius.
Yes.
And one time I was hitting right to the edge of the road. Oof. I couldn't slow any more, and there's some gravel. Very close.
Yeah, my guess is this switch back here, or it could be lower. Well, just a
Radius is like it's 20 meters. It's like
I think there's one at the switchback, which is
so to me, this corner is really important. I'll get to that corner in a minute, but this corner is important because it's a right turn onto a little steep climb. And if you gas it there, it's a great way to stretch the field. Then you kind of climb for a little bit up here and start descending. Through here, there's a little chicane. Fast downhill all the way through here. When you turn, this is a tough corner, the left turn onto Patterson Pass, because it's more than 90 degrees and it's narrow. And you get pushed to the outside, and it's easy again. Position matters, right? If you want to see where position matters, go watch Flanders again. Those guys got caught out numerous times because they came into the corner and got narrow. Well, it's the same kind of thing because it's more than 100 or more than 90 degrees, right? If you get stuck at the back, you're losing a whole lot of speed in that field stretching out in front of you. And last but not least, the rest of it's really fast and really easy to sit in and not do a lot of work. Really easy to drive the pace if you have someone to work for you too. Kilometer from the last corner to the finish. And I didn't say on Cat's Hill, but it's about 250 meters from the last corner. So it's a little bit longer than straight 200 meters, whatever. Fortunately, with Cat Seal, you get a couple chances to pre-ride, both on that Tuesday and a lot of times you can do a lap or so the day of the race because they have a reasonable schedule. It's not too crazy. Okay. The short course. We know the short course really well. The only difference is the finish is on top of the little midway bump. One thing I did want to say is you can see this looks really impressive visually, but it's a total of what, 65 feet. No, the finish climb's 65 feet. The Powder Palace Road climbs 300 feet in 2 miles. It's, it's like 3%. There is a little kicker at about 10%, but it's very short. So the point of that is that's a great place to keep the pressure on and not slow down and be like, oh, I need to recover, because A, it's not that hard to climb, it's not that long, and it really leads to where we want the difficulty to be, which is from the bump to the top of that next little hump, which again, it looks like an impressive climb here, but you guys all know it's not really. Yeah, it's big ring stuff, especially if you're running like a 28 or the new clutch trailer, single speed. I read that article, it's good. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. I'm hoping to have, I really would love to, on at least a couple of these races, fill our 10 rider limit, right? We limit to 10 riders per category for focus races. I'd love to see that in a couple categories, not just because it gives us a lot of weapons to play with, but also because we want to get that participation, we want to get riders out. You guys all come to races and you guys all show up, so really it's to the people watching this that say, come racing, it's fun. And we'll talk more about that again at the Discord, specific strategies and rules and roles. Again, make sure you fill out and register ahead of the Discord so that we have you in the mix and can add you to the plan rather than sort of show up race day, register race day, and be like, hey, what do I do? Because by that point, you're just a sacrificial lamb. Whoever you are, linear. I need a sacrificial lamb in the 45 1-2-3s. I need one. I don't really, but maybe. Okay. So the team terminology project. If you guys remember from last month, I started this as a way to get everyone on kind of the same page with terminology and stuff. And we implemented it at Paskenta pretty well. And I owe everybody that did Chico or did Santa Cruz an apology because I didn't do as well managing my side of the planning at Santa Cruz as I did at Chico, and consequently we kind of sucked at Santa Cruz. Not sucked, we had good riders, we had good rides. But when you have half the field and you don't win, I get frustrated. And I'll take the blame for that because I didn't tell you guys how to win, although it should be pretty obvious.
Apparently not.
Attack, attack, attack. Anyway, so I wanted to put this up here, and there's another sheet after this. We set specific goals, which I didn't take a picture of because that would show intelligence. But I did take a picture of the stuff afterward, which is when we got everyone together right away after for like 3 minutes. We did a quick grading, self-grade, group grade, and then a coach grade. And you'll see, as is typical in most corporate settings, most people grade themselves lower than their compatriots or I would grade them. I don't think anybody got a lower grade from me.
Yeah, you did.
Who'd I?
Linear.
Oh, well. Linear deserved a lower grade.
You avoided that.
When you come to the final sprint final with all those guys, you got to win that. As strong as you are. Oh, my gosh. I downgraded your score. I don't know, you're 35.
You did win that. I mean, I did win the sprint.
But yeah, but you let the guy go 7 minutes up the road. Other than that, I mean, and the other thing too is, and props to those guys, that we had the most dominant team there by yards. Eric Chi was all over it. Andrew was all over it. It was an amazing group that we put on that group, which was really fun, and it made it really fun to go through and grade it. I apologize if it's a little hard to read, go figure. But it did, the feedback I got from everybody that did it was they really liked that it's quick, immediate feedback, that we had concise roles to follow through on the races, and that helped everyone sort of execute against those roles and then grade themselves against those roles. So my point is that will make that more the standard now, especially for focus races, but the goal would be to expand that to every race so that we have a pretty easy process that we walk through. Okay, and it's still a work in progress for me developmentally, so any feedback you guys have, I'd love to have it. Okay, I can come up with stuff all over the place in the back of my brain, but it doesn't mean it's good. Self-group coach evaluation. The big thing is to define roles ahead of time for people, and in this environment, it's really important from my perspective that everyone sort of take their, like, you know, the ego is never your friend. So you got to check the ego at the door and try your best to fulfill a role. It may not be the role that you have. If you have a specific goal for a race, on the race calendar, put that as an A event. Make sure you let us know what your goals are. We can talk about it in the Discord and stuff. It would be a shame to put a rider in a support role who's on form and feels like they can win. By the same token, not everybody can win and not everybody can be the star. But we have a great group for that. Everyone's really good at giving to their teammates, so I don't worry too much about it. And I'm really excited to see where we can get with that this year.
Can you go over the roles at some point?
Great idea. I will. Well, we talked a little bit about last month, right? Whereas we kind of assign guys to cover the first couple of attacks.
I'm confused about what the D role is.
Bitch 1, bitch 2, bitch 3.
Right. The D role, by definition, was technically chase.
But C is chase.
Yeah, but C is cover.
Okay.
There's only one C, unless you want to call it CC. You know what I'm going to call it? I'm going to call it AC. We're going to Andrew Chew this month. And this looks back, again, training common language. There is a training terminology sheet for training. I don't have one for racing yet. So if you have words that you want to know defined or want to add it to the mix, please send them.
Like the roles.
Like the roles. They'll be on the sheet. And this was sort of off top, right? Yes.
And it rolls like throughout the entire race, like a specific role, or like a current, like at this moment.
It was for the whole race.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think we have to
I'm
be
with you.
flexible.
No, I'm
As
with you on
people
this.
drop, we have to be flexible. But
Right. It just gives us a little bit of an outline of what to do, right?
Yeah, I'm ready because there's times where we're in the middle of something and I'm already thinking of code words or terminology.
Exactly, and that's the kind of stuff I need you guys to share because you're in the trenches. I'm just the guy sitting on the sideline with a cheeseburger. But the other thing that matters is roles change too, right? You may be C1, but you may also be, L2. You may have the role of covering the thing, but if it comes to a sprint, you're number 2 on the lead out. Specifically getting those roles, that's the challenging part, right? I could say Andrew should be lead out 1, but Andrew may suck at lead out 1 because he doesn't have the distance that we're looking for. Whereas, he may be great at lead out 2, which is either shorter or longer, however it works. But I'm not looking to pigeonhole you guys into a specific role, but I'm looking to put talent with roles, right? If you're great at riding tempo on the front, Chris Sontag, then you're probably not going to be the guy that is, the attack on the uphill. Anyway, I'm sort of speaking off the top of my head. But if you're good at one thing, I want to make use of that. Okay? And if you have teammates that are good at other things, that cohesion hopefully results in more wins. And more fun, too, because it's fun to go out and execute and come back and give yourself an A, get an A, and also get an A from me. Right? That's like a lot of A's. So we should have a 4.0. Just saying. My kid doesn't have 4.0, but my athletes can. So same thing, too, right? The lead out, right? It's L1 now. Is that okay?
yes.
Okay, excellent. And right here it says 500 meters, but it may be 300 meters. It depends on the course, right? If you're strong enough, Lanier, I can put him on the front for the last 2 laps and be like, Lanier, just go for it. He's TT kind of power. He can just go for it for 2 laps. Same thing, Sontag. Going fast enough to keep it stretched out, keep guys from attacking and counterattacking and moving forward, and fulfill that role for longer, which saves everybody else for the end, right? That's where it becomes event specific. But the goal is to be able to easily parse those roles out if I'm not there, or if we're on site and we don't have a plan walking into a race. Boom, 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 we know kind of where we want to go, okay? Same thing with the reports, much easier. I've been less demanding about getting those written and sent back, but I do think it serves the ultimate purpose of having a feedback mechanism for future years and a way to look at that race, 6 months down the line and say, oh yeah, I remember this, and have those little cues that reinitiate the conversation if we're trying to attack a specific problem or address a future race. Questions? Okay, you guys are quiet, that's good. Covering some bases. Okay, so building the event-specific intervals is, I don't know if it's the main talking point for tonight, but it is something on the list. So, as luck would have it, I picked Cat's Hill and Wente. Right? My goal in creating event-specific intervals is to give you guys some insight into sort of looking at the races and what the demands might be. And then the plan that I build will have specific energy systems built into it. Right? We want to work anaerobic, we're going to do that. We want to work VO2, we're going to do that. But they may not always address specifics of Cat's Hill, for example, lap times, best lap times like 149, average lap times 215, 210 to 230 probably, conservatively. But in looking at a couple different files, 1.2 IF, okay? This was my race file from 2016, I think. 263 average, but 355 normalized. So it's you know, 1 point whatever times harder as a normalized effort. And one of my races was 100 watts higher on normalized power than average power. So the point of that is we can have you guys go out and do, you know, 3 sets of 6 by 30 seconds, but that doesn't mean it's going to translate directly into performance in the race. If you can't go out and do 40 minutes of high IF work, then that's something you can work on, right? If you go out and you say, oh, I'm going to go, last Thursday we went out with one of my clients and we do this hour of power thing out off Purisima. And we go see what we can do for an hour. It's a good course. It doesn't really have any stop signs. Oh, stop signs, but no real stops. But you know, you go out and see what you can do, and it gives you a baseline, and then you go out and you do it again, and maybe you can do it harder, and it works on that mental toughness, right? I was looking at a certain athlete's race from districts last year. 2.5 hours, 0.95 IF, right? I don't know what your file was, Richard, from the race on Friday at Chico, but I know it was high. Good hard racing. The surprising thing is, and it surprises even me, and I've been looking at files for a long time, is how long we can hold that 0.9 IF and above, right? You think, 0.9 IF, that's like really close to what I can do maximally, but this particular athlete who is present, 2.5 hours at 0.95. That's ridiculous.
It's variability, though. I mean, that's
right. Because it's built off of the normalized power number, not the average power number. What that basically means is that they kept hitting the gas, right? Which is what we want. That's racing. Same thing, right? Go watch Flanders and watch the last hour of Flanders and watch those guys try to hit the gas. We don't have anything that's quite that long, but physiologically we get a lot of the same consequences, because we don't have as much development, so we don't have as many matches to burn. So it's the same thing. Anyway, to get back to it, the climb itself, this is the first 6 laps or so, 10, 15 seconds. I took the numbers and tried to break them into averages, so if you're looking to plug in numbers, you know about what you want to hit. 12 to 16 watts a kilogram, mostly towards the 16. 14, 16, 15. Not a lot of, you know, maybe later in the race it slows down a little bit and drops a little bit, but peak power is going to be, peak power for my files was about 1,150 watts at 75 kilograms, which is where the peak power 16 watts kilograms comes from, right? Average power, more like 10 to 12 watts kilogram. But even the short race, even the 30-minute race is doing that climb probably 10 or 12 or 14 times. That adds up. You start getting to the upper categories and looking at 50, 60, or 70-minute races, we're talking, you know, 20, 25, 30 times you're doing that climb. It adds up a lot. Having said that, it's a rhythm. You get into a rhythm on that climb, which is why we don't try to work a bunch elsewhere, because you can recover and repeat, recover and repeat. But if you don't test yourself in training, you won't have any idea. And then it's an open-ended question, and it's easy to be like, bravado, I can totally do that. But in the back of your mind's going, no, you can't. So go out and see what you can do, right? Same thing with, so anyway, the other thing too was the after. There's the hill, and then there's the after hill. Again, sort of 10, 15 seconds. The after hill average was the 10 to 12. The average power, peak power here was 12. Average here was, this was, the average power, excuse me, the average power on the second part was more like FTP, maybe a little above, not huge, wasn't big. Peak power would, again, be, right, like double FTP, 700. For peak power, coming out of the corner onto the little rise, you have to step on the gas a little bit. But average power is going to be about FTP for that sort of 10 seconds. But, again, if we have the comfort and the capacity and the wherewithal to do it, you can pick up 1, 2, 3, 4 spots and go easier on the descent. Otherwise, you have to work hard on the descent to try to get by people. And everyone on that descent wants to rest. So the guys that want to drive the descent have a huge advantage mentally and tactically. Okay. Conversely, so this probably should on the other one. When you're looking at building your event-specific intervals, what's required, right? Wente road race in the 45 or 35 plus is about 2,500 kilojoules, and it's about 3.5 hours, or it was a few years ago. So you got to know that going in. So if all of your rides this year are under 2,000 kilojoules and you want to do well at Wente in the 45 or 35 123s, you probably need to do some long rides this month to try to get ready. Lower categories obviously have less miles, but hour and a half to 3.5 hours is a good long time no matter who you are. Generally 0.9 IF, and that goes directly to us talking about the ability to do high work. I had a file that was 0.99 IF for 3 hours and 26 minutes because of the accelerations and because of the climbs, right? And there's a lot of time you freewheel, but normalized power is physiological strain. If you can't go out and do a hard ride for, I'd say, an hour or more, and you look at some of the training rides we did last year, and a lot of them were above 0.85. I would think for a high intensity ride, if you're above 0.85 on intensity factor, you're in the ballpark of sustainable for a road race, but that should be a hard ride. That 0.9 IF should be the basement for a hard ride in a sort of a race simulation kind of effort. And it doesn't have to be race distance necessarily, it doesn't have to be race duration necessarily, but you do want to open the window to say, is it reasonable for me to think that I can do well at Wente? Okay. To me, the feed hill is a crux. It's about 4 minutes. It's 0.8 of a mile, but you're not going that fast. Files I looked at, 1.15, 1.25 IF. I use that a lot because it's really easy for people to cross-reference. Same as watts a kilogram. Peak power, 7.25 to 10 watts a kilogram. Coming out of the right turn, sharp right turn onto the climb, 10 watts a kilogram, reasonable. High power, 700, right? 75 kilogram guy, 750. It's not unreasonable to expect that. But average power is, again, more like thresholdy, a little over threshold for most people because it's a 4-minute climb, so they're going to go a little hard. But it's not, it's not a pure VO2 kind of effort unless you have sort of, a 2 watt per kilogram capacity, which nobody here does. So presuming you've done the work this far and you've got a nice 4-week block of training to perfect, that gives you a little bit of background. If you want specific numbers, let me know. I'm happy to help. And the training plans this month will have specific work. But as I said, they're not necessarily built to be an exact replica of the race itself, okay? We try to build blocks of training that accomplish goals, and so we can take that and refine that for you individually if you want, okay? But I don't want to give everybody, all 50 people on HIT, a really specific type of workout because really only about 20% of you guys are going to race probably. But it serves a long-term goal. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, and let me go back one. Big deals here, 57%, 58% active recovery by power. That's 0 to low on watts. Because you get that long downhill and you get a sit in a lot. Again, Flanders is a great example. It's in my head because I just watched it today, the end of it today. There's so much time when you're not pedaling. And I'd say time and time again, if you're not pedaling and you're in the front, good for you. If you're not pedaling and you're in the back, get your shit together and move forward, right? Because there's so many times where guys are sitting and freewheeling, and that's how you get 58% zero pedaling. But conversely, anaerobic power, those 10 and 15-second back up to the wheel, sprint through the corner, climb Cat's Hill, 16%, where everything else is a lot lower, less than 10%, that's 10% right there, that line. So 10% across the board with a little bit less, even a little bit less at VO2 power. So it's not like you're doing a lot of VO2 work in a race like Cat's Hill. Your heart rate's really high, but the power demands fluctuate all the time with a ton of it being zero pedaling. Same thing here, bigger values, but 33% zero pedaling or low load and 17% anaerobic power. And that's on Wente's long course, right? So that shows you a lot of work getting done on a road race course. And I haven't looked, but I would guess it's going to be fairly similar for Turlock, Bariani. Almost any race is going to be the same because there's so much time where you're just sort of tooling along at 100 watts, not really doing anything. And then when the hammer comes down, it's like 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds of, oh my God, and then it kind of backs off. There's not a lot in California, there's not a lot of, hours spent lined out single file at threshold hoping you can hang on. In my experience, I haven't seen it happen that much, okay? But good things to look at when you're looking at the distribution. So having high threshold power, in my estimation, gets you in the game. High VO2 power gives you the ability to make a difference in the results. But those aren't the things I think about in the race. If I look at my power meter and I see 400 watts and I go, holy shit, I'm over threshold. Don't shoot yourself in the foot for no reason, okay? It's a number that's highly transient and is not indicative of what you can actually do, okay? So you guys, the goal is to get you guys to not make the power meter your slave, or vice versa, you a slave of the power meter. It's to use it as a stepping stone to say, okay, I've been looking at 400 watts for 4 minutes now. Maybe I should worry, okay? As opposed to, 600 watts, I'm going to go out the back.
It still doesn't matter. You're either on the wheel or not.
Yeah, you can either do it or you can't. If you're looking at the number going, shit, I'm in trouble, you're already in trouble. Right. Which is why I'm only a Cat 2. Okay. Remaining team events. First thing, is there any questions on that or anything that wasn't at least anecdotally clear? Cool.
What happened to district champions? They're in August now?
No, they're now in June.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's time trial district champs.
Time trial may be in.
September now?
Yeah, the road race is the same road race as last year.
That's crit.
And that's Masters Crit in September. And it's in June, like the third weekend in June in Lord Ward. Manco's favorite course. But remaining stuff, Cats Hill Wente, Mount Hamilton stage race. Again, we'll be specific about that too, including a pre-ride of front side, back side, coming back over, unless you guys want to go long. Yes?
Is it timed or omnium again?
I heard timed. I heard timed, but I haven't checked. We can ask.
I've heard time for pre-1, but I heard the lower categories are
Omnium, which would seem like a good idea because they got good participation on the Omnium last year as far as guys picking and choosing their stages. So we'll see. Pescadero, Red Kite Summer Bump, District Championships, which I guess I need to move since it's not actually in August. Good call. Good catch, Linear. We'll add another event in August that'll be a team event because I like to try to get at least one a month. But, I mean, at the end of, is that hurry up? Or is that yay? Or is that, oh my God, I'm bored? Okay. Oh yeah, there's not March, it's April now, so. This is what happens when you get here and you have, oh yeah, you gotta do the calendar. April 8th, team ride, supposed to be a little wet. My original plan was to do the Heart of Darkness, but that's a big ride if it's wet. We're starting team Thursday work. We're only gonna do one Thursday this month, the 12th, because it will be every other week. The next Thursday work would be 2 days before Cats Hill. We're probably not gonna do a hard ride 2 days before a focus race. Team ride, Thursday sprint work, right? Starting to put together some of that train as well as individual sprint tactics. Track day on the 21st, we had great turnout and I think we gained a lot from coming out and doing the track, guys. So Mark is again there and has graciously offered to essentially give us the intermediate session. Depending on if 40 people show up, we'll have to kind of run a mix, but it worked out great last time. And we had a really good time and we had, I think, 22 or 24 people there. And Wednesday racing is starting up soon, so I would love to see us get another great turnout for that.
What time is the track day? 10:30. I don't remember. 10:30 to 1?
$15 all inclusive, 10:30 to 1.
Right on.
What is Wednesday race day?
Huh?
What is Wednesday race day?
Wednesday track racing. There's track racing on Wednesday nights, starting sometime in April, May.
We have a couple practice races in April to kind of get you up to speed if you haven't been racing much, and then starts officially, I think, May 2nd.
So glue my tires is what you're saying.
Yeah, I need to check my tires.
Okay, yeah. They wouldn't let me ride last time because my tires were so cracked. They being those guys. April 22nd, we're doing team class, Spring Classics edition. I don't know what the course is, but it's going to be reminiscent of the Spring Classics. So lots of hills and ridiculously long. But with bailout options. Yeah. There's another way. There'll be a couple of bailout options as well. Cats Hill Recon Tuesday night. We will probably, we'll see as we get going. We'll probably leave because I know a lot of you guys live up here and it's a pain in the ass to get that far south. So we'll probably leave from maybe like either the Outfitter or possibly, gosh, I don't know. You guys let me know. I'd say Page Mill Park and Ride, but that's not that much closer because going all the way from there all the way to Los Gatos is a pretty big ride. But we'll see if we can come up with a location where we can meet and go from. What?
With traffic, it's faster to bike that from Page Mill instead of drive there.
Yeah, it probably is. But Page Mill down, ride back is like, you know, long. Maybe we set up some carpools and get some stuff done that way. But that's Tuesday. Thank God for daylight savings because we can run a little bit later. And it's not like we're going to get, you know, 10 or 15 really hot laps practicing the course because it is open to traffic and not our play area. Focus race, team ride, track day, team ride. Oh, I don't have a theme for this team ride.
Matt dragged us around for 3 hours, claiming it's easy, and
Yes. Speaking of easy, the scooter should be up and running here in a week or two. I just have to pay the insurance. It's running, but at which point we'll start bringing that into the mix for a few riders. Not everybody gets to play on the scooter. You have to pass my unofficial test to make sure that you're not going to crash yourself. Because crashing is optional, even on a scooter. I think that's it. Don't you think I need probably an in picture at the end sometime so we know? Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's the gist of what I have for you guys tonight. Questions, comments, or needs? Right on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15. Nice. Like 20 people came out to listen to me jabber. That's cool. Guys, we're doing great so far. I'm really psyched. And I'm really excited for April because it's a nice block. It's only the second. We have the meeting on the second day of the month, which means we're not squandering the first 5 days waiting for the meeting to come. So we've got a really great training block and a pretty busy calendar this month. In addition, the women are doing Thursday rides alternate weeks, I believe, which is why we put ours on alternate weeks. Not that you guys can come out and do it, but if you are looking to help out a little, I'm sure they would love to have some help. And I'm not always available to do the Thursday rides every week. So anyway, and the ladies are doing great. And somewhere we added like some new riders. I saw some names I didn't recognize on the results. So right on. Good job. Anything you want to say about that, Colleen?
No, I'm just happy to see more women racing.
Right on. And if someone could just get Melanie Wong to jump ship to our team, that would be fine. Except then I couldn't marry her because she'd be on our team, and that'd be, yeah.
We're working on that.
Change the order.
Oh, cool. That, and I don't know how she keeps winning because, I mean, clearly she's strong, but anyway, we're not here to talk about Melanie Wong's prodigious winning. Guys, thanks again, and thanks online. See you guys soon.